one of the challenges with these sprites or CG characters in particular was that, Ruth Carter, our costume designer, had very unique and beautiful costumes, so they weren't something that you could simply just copy and paste, because otherwise you're going to see the same character kind of throughout. So they became much more complex builds for those characters. And Ryan also wanted to keep, each tribe had their section along the cliff. So there's these subtle story points that you see of each tribe kind of had their own barge as they came up. Then each tribe had their own section of cliff as we kind of go around the horn where Mike was talking about, who's involved or who wants to challenge and no one challenges. So that it was a big undertaking for that aspect from the celebration. And then once we got into the fight, it was kind of showing the danger, making sure that people were aware of the danger that was over that edge. Foreshadowing and helping us for that second fight, as you said. So we didn't need to have all of this buildup for the second round. So you were aware of where the edge was. We always had the water kind of flowing away from camera to really help the audience understand that there was peril the closer you got to that edge. And then as we worked through that first fight, getting closer and closer to the edge, you felt that, I think, as an audience member.
Yeah, that high angle moving camera that you did was mind-blowing in terms of setting up danger.
Well, Ryan, like we said, he trusts his crew very much, but he also trusts the audience. And we have a series of, they're called friends and family screenings. They're not really our friends or family, but it's a nice way to say, hey, we're putting this movie in front of people who've never seen it, maybe never heard of Black Panther before, and see what they think. And, one of, kind of Jeff alluded to, was one of the issues people had where wait, is that the same guy? Because and it was our fault completely, because we ended that scene we had an early cut where we ended the scene with the ship flying away, and then we cut to 20 years in the future and we cut to a ship flying in, and people think, wait, I thought this was the main character, and then it's a death wish if the audience is asking those kind of questions in the first 10 minutes of the movie. So we really listen to what the audience has to say, and it's valuable because we're movie fans too, just like everybody else, and so we wanted to find these ways to do it. But and we played around with different versions. I mean, in Creed, when we were introducing characters, we did this like, this is their name, this is their boxing record, this is whatever. So it's a new person, you know what they've done, who they are. This we wanted to be a little more submersive, and so I forget how. But in discussions, people throw out, and at Marvel, they love people. If you have an idea, say it. If it's a bad idea, no one's going to chastise you. No one's going to do whatever. They want what's best for the movie and best for the story. So some ideas that were thrown out were can we put some gray in his beard, to make him look older that way, and when we don't, we don't draw attention to it. It's just there, and you take it in bits of information, and then and like Jeff's, the gold on the trim, and I think we tried the beard thing first, and got rid of some of the issues, but then the gold was more of like down the road, like let's, we need to push it.
Ryan really does take his time. He involves people, and he thinks about the process, and will, wait to the bitter end to make a decision. But there's a reason for that. It's because he really is trying to make the best decision, and that comes back, I think, to the storytelling part, is what is the best story? What is the story that the audience is going to understand? Because they're going to see it that one time, and they need to get all of those pieces where we've watched it 100 times, and we have this underlying understanding of what may or may not have already happened. And I think you also then have other people that may have an understanding of the character from the comic world, that you have to cater to people that may have not seen that and may not have the understanding for what vibranium is and who the Dora Milaje are. And I think that was one thing you see early on in the film with the prologue, was trying to find the balance of how much can we tell through this prologue to kind of set up the basics for somebody who doesn't have a strong understanding of this universe.
Yeah.
Actually, I was just going to add the story that we talked about before, because this scene is a setup for when we go to Oakland, and we go to Oakland several times throughout the movie. One of the things that we ended up doing on the sound side, just for fun, was put in BART trains in the background, because it's Oakland, and the BART trains keep coming up every time you get to one of these flashbacks. But on one of them, we had, I guess we're assuming everyone saw it, when it was announced that Killmonger as a boy was left behind. we had this, when we cut to him, we had this boom sound that we've called the contentious boom. And depending on how you interpreted it, the boom was either signifying that something, that he was bad or that what they had done was bad. And when we were mixing it, half of the room thought it was one way and half thought it was the other way. And so we had the boom in and then we took the boom out, we had the boom in and we took the boom out. And this is with all the executives. We did this for probably 15, 20 minutes. It took like some very valuable time, but that's the kind of collaboration that they encourage, and that's the kind of collaboration that we do the whole process through.
That being said, Ryan still really wanted to get a sense, be true to Africa. He wanted us to feel like we are in parts of Africa, and that covers everything from the construction of the sets that Hannah had done to Ruth's costumes, to makeup. Everything was based off of something that he had found in Africa. So knowing that Ryan had that feeling and that intention really made me want to make sure we were true to that story as well. So once it became clear that we weren't going to be shooting much in Africa, we did go to Africa on a scout with Ryan. We found locations that he liked, and we captured those digitally, as well as shot plates, aerial and ground-based plates, and try to use those as much as possible. So anytime we were doing an extension, whether it was the waterfall or the borderlands, they were all based off of locations in Africa, and we used photography, either just straight photography plates that we shot, or we built the environments based off of that look. So there was a strong incentive to follow his wish and be true to Africa as much as we could. And I think everybody knew that was essential for this movie to be successful. It was to follow that. Korea, we shot in Korea, so that was a little easier, because that was based in Busan. So the Korea chase sequence was in Korea. We had one scene where they exit the casino, which was an alley in Atlanta. But that was an easier job of set dressing, because it was a nighttime, you're exiting. We just needed a bunch of stalls to sell fish and make it feel like an outdoor market in Korea. So that one was a little simpler to make that one feel more realistic than the other big African landscapes.